Welcome to the Iron Edge. I'm Ken Novitsky. I'm very, very excited for this guest, Mr. Joe Sullivan. You might know Joe from the world of powerlifting, world of coaching, world of now bodybuilding. We've crossed paths here and there, and I'm very excited to sit and be able to have a conversation with you about, you know, the training side of stuff, but then also the way things expand into life, and all the how pressure builds us and all that sort of stuff. So thank you for joining me, Joe.
Absolutely, dude. And I'm happy to be here. I'm glad to be part of the new push to get more of these done, and it's going to be a good convo because that little outline because me and Ken, for anybody listening, like we both kind of agreed like just to treat it like a conversation and roll through, but it's always better with an outline and a general direction of things to go. But that's always been my interpretation of training and strength training and like pushing yourself to be better in some form. It's not just about the outcome that you're getting through that. Like being strong is cool, hitting PRs is cool, getting up on the bodybuilding stage is cool, but doing the actions that you need to do in each day to be closer towards that goal in the long term, those decisions, the things that you have to debate with yourself over, the hard paths that you have to choose sometimes, that's the stuff that like makes you into a better person and a better man through these types of endeavors. So I'm sure it's going to be a good one.
Yeah, it's so funny because I feel like in my younger years I would never have even begun to think about training like sort of leaching over into other parts of life. And then maybe it's a sign of old age or maturity, I don't know. But I feel like as you get into that, you know, maybe second part of your life type of thing, when the responsibility hits a bit more, that's when I think you feel and you see a bit of the like how it affects everything as a whole versus just on in the gym and that's it.
Hmm. Absolutely. That's gaining perspective, bro. That's growing up. Like, I mean, shit, I literally had, and this, it's how it goes. But I literally got news that another friend of mine took his own life this morning, like a couple
I'm
hours
sorry,
ago.
dude.
It's all good. It happens, like I tried to I tried to take my own life, when I was 17 years old. And I, it's growing up. It's like it's
Hmm.
seeing mortality up close and personal because like I'm sure you've lost friends, I've lost friends, and you start to realize like God damn, this is it's just lifting weights, it's just going to the gym, but the standards that you hold yourself to there and the strength that you can gain through choosing to do something difficult in as simple of a situation as it might be, like, hey, I didn't want to go to the gym today but I still showed up, that can lend you strength in other aspects of your life. And you just start to get it. Like I mean, like I've had to really accept the fact that I want to be going to the gym for the rest of my life.
Hmm.
But in wanting and desiring to continue to go to the gym and train in some form or fashion for the rest of my life, what that training is going to look like is not going to be what it looks like right now. I'm not going to be doing the same stuff when I'm
Yeah.
60, but I also had to have, like, I'm going to be 33 in a couple of months. I had to have like some serious introspective conversations with myself to really come to terms with the fact that like the things I do at 33 are going to look incredibly different compared to the things that I did when I was 25. It's still, you're still getting older, but like showing up for yourself is the best form of longevity that you can participate in.
Yeah, that's been the hardest thing for me. Like stepping back from competing has been like and like sort of like changing my mindset to who am I now? Like who I am today is not who I was, 5 years ago, hell,
Mhm.
2 years ago. And then how I want to train and my approach to being in the gym. Because like you, I want to be able to do this for the next, I was going to say next 50 years, but I don't know if I'll make it 50 years. Next
Right.
30 years, hopefully,
Yeah.
Um, so then to continue for that thought then, you know, who are you in this season of life? I know, you've done the power, or massive power lifter, extreme success there. You moved into the bodybuilding, the coaching side of stuff. Who's Joe today?
This is, dude, this is such topical stuff because I can't even answer that with 100% definitive definition with a
Yeah.
definitive like confidence to nail it because I am still in the process of figuring it out. I've been in a very like transitory period of my life because I broke 8 all-time world records. I was literally the best in the world at what I did. And as simple as it may have been, because it was just a barbell squat, it was my thing. And it
Yeah.
was the thing that I poured my whole soul into. And then I kept getting hurt, kept blowing stuff off, kept like having these things not be quite as good as what they used to be. And you begin to realize that that's not exactly sustainable. And then you go try different things. And I'm in the process of trying different things. Like I've been doing a little bit of running. I've been doing
Okay.
like hypertrophy training. I actually recently hired a pain management guy to explain. It's a lot of functional range conditioning. So like
Okay.
range tolerance in the joints and whatnot,
Mhm.
and just kind of like I want to be able to move better. I want to be able to
Yeah.
like go into my 30s and beyond, my 40s, 50s, 60s, with not feeling like I got hit by a bus every day, you know. But then at the same time, and in the same breath as saying the answer is just Joe Sullivan right now, just being the coach, being the guy who's continuing to live his life well and try to coach others and inspire others to do that same thing via whatever avenue they may be pursuing. Because I'm coaching powerlifters, I coach boxers, I coach bodybuilders, I coach folks who just want to be healthier. I'm covering as many bases as I can, and I want to like provide that service through my life and actions to as many people as I can. I also am still that fucking psycho deep down because I'm talking to you and it's
Yeah.
like I literally just had a conversation with Brianna yesterday where it's like, you know, like I want to get back on the powerlifting platform. I
Mhm.
do this year, but the thing with that is reframing that perspective from being I am Joe Sullivan powerlifter, who's that's what I am,
Mhm.
to I'm Joe Sullivan who participates in powerlifting. So like my goal this year is just to be more of a participant in the things that I'm interested in. I want to do a Highland Games competition. I want to run a 10K. I want to compete in a powerlifting meet, but I want to do all of these things just for the sake of the fulfillment it brings me and the process that I get out of it, rather than looking to hit PRs or do some blowout thing, if
Yeah.
that makes sense.
It makes complete sense, and that's the hard thing for me is like I'll go to the shows. We go to official strongman games. We run the booth and we talk to athletes all weekend and all that sort of thing, and it's fantastic. I love it, and I get that little bit of like, oh, I can still fucking go,
Mm-hmm.
and then I pull back myself. I'm like, well, could you? And
Mm-hmm.
what would it take to go? And then I have to sort of reframe myself and, or maybe not even reframe, but sort of like reel myself in because I know how selfish I am when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to like, or I should say, I know how selfish I was when it came to strongman. So
Mm-hmm.
now it's like, what do I want from training? What do I want from life? Um, like my wife's pregnant right now,
Mm-hmm.
and we're getting close to being parents, which is completely fine some days, and other days I'm like, holy shit, this is terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to like wrap my head around where does training fit in, where does physical, everything fit in, type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but then also and I'm sure you can understand this, the relief side of it. Like I need to have that. I'm a fucking animal. I can go through a brick wall. Relief from the gym. But then I started snow. I've been snowboarding for a long time, and I got back into it when I started dating my now wife. And then because she can't go this year, I'd be go myself. And I figured out if I ride super super hard to the point where if I fall, I'm going to get fucked up. My brain switches off, and I love it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's trying to find all of it and make sure it all fits together. And I'm not sure how it
Absolutely.
does.
I'm right there with you, dude. I don't think everybody says like balance is the goal. I don't think balance is the goal. I think finding out what level of off balance you are comfortable with and being okay with that. I don't think it's the same thing. So I guess I just talking or thinking out loud. It's that like false dichotomy in like relationships. It's like a relationship is 50-50. No, it isn't.
It's
It's
never. No.
60-40 some days. It's 80-20 other
Yep.
days. Some days it's 50-50, but those days are super rare. You know,
Yep.
it's we carry the slack of others sometimes and others do the same for us. Same kind of principle, I would think, when it comes to our priorities and the things that we pour into, because sometimes it has to be more emphasis and more prioritization towards the family, towards providing for your people, for personal development, for like emotional growth and maturity and development and whatever. And then other times we can afford to, because we've spent enough time facilitating and cultivating the other things, we can afford to pour into the dumb shit, the going
Yep.
fast on down the mountain, the climbing the mountain that seems impossible. I don't know. And maybe that's the answer, dude. Maybe
I.
that's like it spend time. It's the same thing as periodizing your training. Spend time
Mhm.
developing the
Yep.
foundation so that you can afford to, honestly, fuck up the foundation a little bit if you need to. I'm not saying like be a terrible partner, but
Yep.
like even with Briani and I, like our dynamic, I'm more just like participant, like retired, not retired, still doing it just because of the love of the game, but maybe not like blowing up records anymore.
Mhm.
But Bree is like the superstar now. She could go back to powerlifting and set the world on fire again if she wanted to. She's in bodybuilding and got fourth place at her first pro show. It's like it's unheard of crazy stuff. And she's killing it when she's in competition prep. It's she's not a bad partner, but I have to pick up a lot of aspects of Slack when it comes to house stuff, like management stuff, like back end stuff. And I also have to accept the fact, like we both know Briani, and like Briani is my favorite. She's my best friend and my favorite person on the planet. I'm a very gentle, empathetic guy. She's blunt. She's a dog, you know, and when she's in that competition mode, sometimes conversations I have to look at and be like, she's prepping. It's fine. Like, you know, don't take it personal. Because I'm a dickhead too. I'm the
Yeah.
same way. Like we're two very like alpha
Yeah.
personalities in a relationship, and we do a lot of that, you know. But
And I
maybe
totally get that. And I'll let you finish. So I didn't mean to cut you off there.
no, yeah, it's just maybe that's it. Maybe it's the prioritization aspect.
Yeah, I don't like, and that's where I'm at. Like, I'm very aware of, to sort of close that loop when it's contest prep. Like, nothing else fucking matters to me, and
Mhm.
that's the part I almost don't want to like open up the can of
Right.
worms again. I had a really interesting conversation with Dave Tate, and I'm sure you had a lot of these. Um,
Hmm.
I only managed to sit down with Dave once, but we had like a 3 hour conversation, and I asked him, I was like, how how do you balance everything? This is like asking him about how do you balance elite and family and training and everything. And he goes, you don't. There's no such thing as balance. Put all your focus on that one thing when you're doing it, and that's it. Then you move on to the next thing. And then your sole focus is on family. Your sole focus is in the gym. And that's the way you quote unquote balance it.
Hmm. And that leads like one thing before I say the systems thing is like that's one thing I've always been incredibly grateful for, because the reason I'm as introspective or like able to have these like thoughts and conversations like this, and like I've found myself in a good spot with this in balance or whatever, is because
Mm-hmm.
of the mentors and the mentorship I've had through Dave and through other guys that I've trained around, lived around, communicated with frequently. Because I was at Elite FTS. I was at the S4 or S5 like every weekend for 3 years straight. You
Yeah.
know, and I had the privilege to have a lot of conversations with that guy. But that's exactly an echo of what he told me when we had a similar conversation, and that's the skill and the blessing in moments of being present. Like literally when you're in the thing that you're doing, be in that thing.
Yeah.
Like, love the person that you're with, love this time that you're spending with your family, love the fact that you have a job that you can go work to put food on the table, even if you fucking hate it. Like, show up in that moment of time, and don't be so obsessed with the training session you have coming up.
Yeah.
Don't be so bad or not there that, like, when you're training, all you're thinking about is the bad that's going around in your personal life. That's where it's like there is no balance. There's just presence of mind and being the best that you can be with whatever identity you have at whatever
Mhm.
moment you find yourself in.
Yeah, and like, do you how do you feel that was developed? Like, obviously none of us have that sense of responsibility or discipline or anything like that. Like, starting out, like we have to sort of cultivate it through these years. And like, how do you feel like, younger years led into all of this, and like, where did that sort of sense of, not sense of responsibility, but what do you think the turning point was with from a younger, like from a younger Joe to then have that sort of like light bulb moment?
Yeah, well, it could be. You could, like, I would totally accept it if you said the word responsibility, because, like, that's kind of how I look at it, due to the fact that, like I mentioned, the mentors I've had, like Dave is one of them. Chris Duffin is another, but the biggest one that stands out in my mind, and like the person that has really like woven themselves and their beliefs and their goodness as a man into my experience in my life, is my dad. I am honored and grateful to have my father as my father, because he showed me how to be a good man, a good person, and be strong but also empathetic, and like stern but kind.
Hmm.
And he's still doing crazy stuff. He's still the type of guy where it's like, if not me, then who type stuff, because he's the mayor of the small town he lives in now, like my
Okay.
hometown. He was a public works employee for his career, and retired, and then looked around and was like, man, nobody's doing anything. Somebody's got to do something. And nobody was doing anything. And he's like, fuck it, I'm going to do it. He petitioned around town, got enough votes, and now he's mayor, and he's doing it. It's awesome. I'm incredibly proud of him, but I'm super grateful for my dad. And that's really, like, that was my childhood, and like my life, developing years of my life. That's where, like, I could give you a lot of turning points, because we dealt with homelessness, we dealt with poverty. My mom had some serious medical issues when I was adolescent into young teenage years. She was a type 1 diabetic since she was 6 years old. And when in 2005, her kidneys failed,
Mm.
and she went into complete renal failure, had to be on like multiple day a week dialysis just to live and function.
Fuck.
Ended up getting her life saved via a kidney pancreas transplant, but she's medically disabled now, and the medical debt was insurmountable, and it put some really,
Yeah.
really hard times on our family. But there were nights where my dad gave me food and went to bed hungry, because that was his role and responsibility as the guy. And he's always been that way. He's shown me what it means to show up even when you don't want to. And he's also always been very, very vocal about being grateful for where you find yourself, even if it is a struggle, because it is shaping you into who you are. So that's like every time I've been injured, every time I've like fucked up my own personal life, because I'm not perfect. We've all
Mm.
had made errors and been a dickhead in some form or fashion. But like
Yep.
every time I've fallen short, physically, emotionally, financially, personally, whatever, I've always looked at it as another opportunity to improve for next time. And carrying like that perspective and that like gratitude, even in like the harshest moments, it's really allowed me to like continue to do, because this will be, if I get on the powerlifting platform this year, that will be my it will be 19 years since my first powerlifting competition, and it will be
Damn.
my 36th powerlifting meet that I've participated in. So
Okay.
it's been doing it forever, and I want to do it forever because every time I do it, it's another opportunity to improve, not just physically, but as Joe Sullivan.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's really. I think it's, to put it mildly, I think it's super fucking cool that your dad is like this big person to you, and I
Mhm,
understand that completely. I view it exactly the same way. Unfortunately, my dad passed when I was like just a couple of weeks after I turned 21,
mhm.
and I missed a lot. Like I had a lot of it during like teenage years and all that sort of stuff. But then when you start looking at it afterwards, you're like, man, I wish I could ask him this, or man, I really wish he was here for this. And it's hard for me now with with uh, with um with our first child coming, that I'm sitting thinking about, like, man, he would have loved all of this,
Mhm.
and being able to experience him in that role. So for me, I've sat here for the last almost 9 months, and wondered, like, man, am I gonna shape up? Am I gonna like fill his shoes and all that sort of stuff? And I've mentioned it to my mother and stuff, and she goes, "You don't fill his shoes, you fill your own." I was like,
Mhm.
huh, okay, that's actually a really good way to put it. I didn't think about that. But there's still, for me, I want to honor him and all that sort of stuff, So um, I feel like if I can be the dad that you just described of your father, I think I'll do okay. And I think that's like for a lot of us, just to be, a person. I'm not saying a father or a mother. I'm just saying being a person that someone can sort of reflect on, that's what you're leaving. I think that's important.
I agree, dude. And honestly, I tell you, like, if just hearing you say the fact that you want to be that for your kid and that you want to leave that type of a legacy, as long as you have that in like fresh in your mind with every decision that you make, you're going to do it. You don't have to fucking
Yeah,
say like, am I? You're doing it. That
yeah,
thinking that way and considering that in general, that is actively participating in that action. You're doing it right now, dude.
no, I
Like
appreciate
that's
it.
it's gonna be cool, bro.
Yeah,
And and I'm also I'll tell you, and this isn't even a plug because I'm not affiliated in any way. I just fucking bought it off of a TikTok ad. So like, do this, and anybody listening to this, if you have a dad who's still alive, make them fucking do this shit
I know what
because
you're gonna say already.
I haven't read it yet. It's this "Tell Me Your Story, Dad." Have you seen those fucking
I
things?
bought one for my mom. I bought it
Yeah,
for her like last year.
I bought one. I'm so big. Like, I am so great. I have gratitude engraved on my fucking glasses. I am like grateful, grateful, grateful guy. Because like, I love my mom. I love my dad. My mother-in-law and my father-in-law live like 20 minutes that way. I coach my father-in-law.
Yeah,
Bree coaches her mother-in-law. When Bree hit the all-time deadlift world record at like 646 or whatever the fuck it was, the video pans and she runs over to my parents and her parents and it's crying, and I just think about that shit because I'm like,
yeah.
we're gonna look back on this when they're fucking dead, bro, and I'm gonna bawl my eyes out, and I'm just like, ugh, because but I bought my dad that like "Tell Me Your Story,"
Yeah.
and well, I bought both my mom and my dad. My mom is she's blind because of the diabetes, so it's taking her a very long time to write a book, which is kind of fucking funny, and that's kind of, am I a dickhead for giving her that? I don't
I
know,
don't know.
but I had my dad write this, and I haven't even looked at it yet because I know. And for anybody listening to this, I have no shame. I am a soft dude. Like, if you get me any type of emotional, I was getting fucking teary eyed earlier. I'm gonna bawl my eyes out when I fucking read that shit. But like, if you can get your parents to do that, because these are the conversations. Like Ken, I'm sorry for your loss, but like, you have that perspective because you don't have those conversations with your dad.
Yeah,
I know,
100%.
I can't imagine that. That has to hurt. And having the opportunity to have those talks, and like, you're doing it with your mom and you'll pass it on to your kid. Like, that's such a huge thing.
Yeah, and I think a lot of us, I think, not to get too deep, but I think a lot of us will. be like, oh man, my fucking parents, oh, they're annoying me so much.
Yes.
And I've said this to plenty of people, and I'm like, I understand that you're frustrated with your mom because of whatever, or your dad, whatever. But just take them for who they are, because at some point in time, they're not going to be here, and you're going to fucking wish that you could just take them for how they are and
Mm.
appreciate it again. And it's hard to think about someone making that type of mistake, because I have those regrets, and I would hate for somebody else to have that regret too.
Yep. I'm right there with you,
You
dude.
know,
Like you want some of the best advice that I've ever gotten. I don't even know if you'd call it advice. It was something my therapist and I talked about like fucking years ago, is stopping, like not expecting yourself from other people. Because
hmm
like you like, let's say your mom or dad are being terrible to you, or like they did something that you don't agree with when you were a child, and you have like a lot of resentment towards them for that thing. Stop imagining yourself in that situation, because you weren't. You didn't
yeah,
do it. You don't know what they were feeling. You don't know what they were going through. You don't know where their head was at. So stop trying to understand why they did that thing. Accept that they did that thing and understand that it was probably their best move or their best decision or the only thing that they could manage to do at that time. And if that means you can't forgive them for it, at least then you can accept them for who they are and what they did.
100%. Yeah, I have a tattoo on my chest that says, it's a Henry Rollins quote, and it says, "It'll destroy you if you try to make it mean anything to anyone but yourself." And I got
Yep.
it because I was so deep in strongman, and I was almost like I was almost annoyed that people didn't get me at times, you know? And I was like, well, fuck, this makes sense. Like, I'm trying to force my views and my perspectives and my whatever on, on everybody else.
Hmm.
Um, and I think that, like, the work we put into a personal endeavor, and all that hard work that we sacrifice everything. I think at times it, I think the work gets misunderstood potentially by others that are outside looking in. And then, you know, I think we have to, or we forget. And we have to remember that hard work to me and you can mean something completely different to this person over there and that person over there. And I think that's where we need to try and pull it back a little bit and have that introspective sort of reality check at times.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. And that's been a huge, that perspective or just like thought process has been a huge part of me kind of like moving through my evolution as an athlete,
Yeah.
like because I felt the same way about powerlifting and like all-time world records and whatnot, because like I haven't, for as an example, I haven't competed since 2023.
Okay.
That's not a huge like gap of time, but it's a couple years. There's a lot of powerlifting meets in between then and now. In
Yeah.
between then and now, there's been a lot of all-time world records that were set in powerlifting and particularly the squat. We know how judging goes sometimes. A
Yeah.
lot of them were less than stellar in regards to the standard that I believe should be upheld in the sport. But at the same time, it's my belief, it's my
Yeah.
perspective. I don't own a federation. I can't really do anything about it. And Joe from 2015, if he was in this moment of time seeing this, he probably wouldn't have slept whatsoever, or he would have blew up social media just perpetually because saying this is bullshit, you're bullshit, blah 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 blah. And don't get me wrong, I'll still chime in and give my opinion there, but I don't let the water in the ship as much as I did previously, because it doesn't concern me. Like
Yeah.
if my all-time world records were done to this degree and it's what I'm proud of, and people still identify that as things to be like incredibly like revered because they were just quality and blah blah blah, but it doesn't matter because it's just a thing that happened. It's a thing that I did. It's not the rule. Who gives a shit if somebody came in and broke mine or broke that guy's or broke that guy's, or the sport is heading in such and such direction? It doesn't affect when I wake up in the morning. It doesn't affect the money that I have in my bank. It doesn't affect the positive impact that I can have in the world. Don't lose sleep over it then. You know,
Yeah.
it's
No.
it's it's the perspective thing.
Yeah, and I think there's part of it where training like really can build us and
Mhm.
build that, like, self confidence and build your character and all this sort of stuff. But there's, from my perspective, at least talking of myself, I think there's a point in time where we can potentially get wrapped up in it a little bit, and then
Mhm.
you start lying to yourself about what's truly important, type of thing.
Mhm. Absolutely. It's when you like get to that point where you're like wrapping your self-worth into the things that you're doing and not who you are, or
Yeah,
where you can't really differentiate between who you are and the things that you do, which is like that umbrella over this entire conversation, honestly.
yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's where, especially when you then pull back from the sport, it's trying to sort of reframe your identity again. Like, who am I? And there's also the part of it that, you know, excuse me, with training. Like, I feel like we have these sort of crises of self when shit doesn't go to plan. If an injury, a bad meet, whatever, it's almost trying to be like, how do you keep moving forward with some of these things that are happening? Because for me, at least, um, a meet wouldn't go well, and I'd be like, well, fuck, I'm I'm lesser, I'm this, I'm that, and I think that's a huge part of the sport that a lot of people don't talk about as well. Is like that, sort of mental anguish that we go through as athletes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, like, honestly, dude, and this is so I'm very like I don't know. I don't want to say that I'm very morbid, but it's like it's very much akin to that like Stoic philosophy, memento mori, which is like
Yep.
you can die at any time. It
Yep.
may this may be your last moment, so understand that like this moment is special, and just to appreciate that presence. Um, I guess that's why I feel as though like I've been able to. I mean, I name my business AOD, adapt or die. It's like figure it out or
Yep.
don't. But the not figuring it out isn't really an option.
Yeah.
Um, I've had I've had tragedy in my life. I've had hard things that have been outside of powerlifting or strength training or training in general. So when the training in general has gone sideways for me, it's been less disruptive than it might have been had I not been like prepared for it. Cause like it's the same cliche as you get a pet, and it's incredibly morbid perspective, but it's a real thing. When you get a pet and then you develop that emotional bond with an animal, and then that animal passes away, it's a tragedy. And I still find myself missing my dog, mine and Brianni's dog, who passed a year and a half ago. But that is a small preparation for the larger losses in your life,
Hmm.
and like a death of a parent, a death of a loved one, a death of a friend. Um, it kind of works with the inverse as well. If you've experienced losses of that magnitude, when you experience losses elsewhere, they seem less disastrous. So it never makes it easier, because I would go through the same thing. I'm still an athlete. Like, I would fail, and I would sulk and be pissed off.
Hmm.
But you the more failures you experience in that context, or the more loss you experience elsewhere, and the more times that you survive that, the better prepared you are to handle it every single time thereafter. So like you bomb out at a meet, that fucking sucks. I wasted some time coming out here, but I got to see my friends. Cool,
Yeah.
It's that reframing and constant like movement through experience, if that makes sense.
Completely does. I think for me, talking personally on it, the one of my biggest issues with it, I suppose is the best word, is that I think like being able to look back on it now, like very introspectively, I think I use strongman as such a massive coping mechanism for the loss of my dad that,
Hmm.
and I didn't realize this maybe until a couple of years ago, until I really stopped competing. I was like, oh well, I've actually got things that I enjoy doing, and it's not as big a thing anymore. Um, but I think I put so much um, value on the performance that it sort of, when it didn't go that way, it was like my entire fucking world was ending.
Hmm.
And it was like this terrible thing. Whereas now I'm like, oh, okay, I'm okay,
Hmm.
What do you think one thing in your life that completely changed how that was like a turning point for you, like changed how you view life, changed how you operate, like what do you think one thing would be that really changed it for you?
Hmm. I have so many. I have different. I'm thinking of different moments, and it's just it's curious to think about like which one, because there were like a couple of different like series of events or things. Like my mom had the kidney pancreas transplant, and I was shown how, even though we had, and they still have an unbelievable amount of medical debt, like insurmountable. Like we all know the healthcare system in the US is
Yeah,
a mess. um, but even still in that moment, all we could be grateful for is the fact that my mom was still alive. The money didn't
yeah,
matter, the stress didn't matter. We were, who fucking cares? None of that is real. My mother is still breathing and still able to
yeah,
be around us. um, I went to I when I was in college, my student loan was reevaluated because my dad lost one of his jobs and it was removed. So I was faced with a fork in the road: either drop out or continue or work full time to pay for school.
mm,
And I chose to work full time to pay for school at a crematory, at a crematory facility, to just figure it out because they needed
yeah,
people, and I did that to pay off college. Went I won, or I got second place at the US Open in 2017, where people called me like an overnight success, and I had already been competing for a decade. But I won $11,000 that day, and it gave me enough of a jumping off point to quit my corporate job and go into full time online coaching and like personal training and
yeah,
whatever the fuck my job title is. Um, 2017, 2020, the pandemic, right after I invested into a gym in Columbus, Ohio, another period of time to be like adapt or die, figure it
yeah,
out. Well, and I missed 2018. The barbell bent on my back, herniated two discs in my neck, caused my left arm to basically die to a dorsal scapular nerve compression for however long. Had to figure that out. Came back. 2020, invested into the gym. 2020 broke my first open all-time world record. Did that every year thereafter through 2023. Moved to Vegas in 2021. Met Briani. Like found out that there was a person who could understand my perspective, but also not just like accept my perspective as reality. And
yeah,
me growing up enough to understand that it's important to find someone to fit the perspectives with, not take mine and just replace theirs,
yeah,
because I am a megalomaniacal motherfucker, and I have a very, very big personality, and I have never been challenged more than finding someone like Briani, and that's a blessing for me. Shit, we just released a line of supplements that I never thought I'd be able to get off the ground because of like uh, litigation debt and like shit not to
mhm,
be gone into here, but like just a mess of stuff. And there's been like so many moments, dude. And it's like I think that's where like it's never something that's easy to like make a quick point on social media.
Yeah.
It's like reserved for long-term conversations, like this. But everybody is always like, God, like always laments like, in my life or in life in general, it's one thing after the other. Oh my God, it just keeps getting worse. And it's like, guess what, bro? Buckle the fuck up because it
Yep.
isn't getting any better. You just got to figure it out. And even if you do figure it out, you're going to fucking die.
Yep.
You can bitch and moan and piss and complain about that, or you can get to fucking living and figuring it out and trying to help other people along the way. Because the
Well, I think
complaining and the terror, it's
doesn't
not.
help.
No,
Yeah,
exactly.
doesn't help. I think the biggest thing that we have to come to a point with as individuals, and I think it's for a different point for everybody, is that at a certain point in your life, you have to just understand that to keep moving forward, you gotta let go.
Yep.
And there's nothing else to it. Like if you don't, then you're just gonna be stuck. And like you said, oh, it just keeps getting worse, keeps getting worse. But if you stop and you let go of XYZ, you can have all this other shit and it could just keep getting better. Yeah, it's still going to take a downturn here and there,
Yep.
but you're going to get to the point where the pros outweigh the cons type of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, like, perfect analogy for that is do you do any like are you in like crypto at all?
No, but I saw your post.
No, decimated. I'm
Yeah,
fucked. I'm literally like looking at it on my phone and I'm like, I'm gonna fucking die, dude. I'm not even like super heavily invested in crypto. It's just like I have some money in there
yeah,
and it's just getting annihilated. But the perspective there, because like and why it relates to that statement where it's like stop looking at the past and stop like thinking about, oh my God, it's just getting worse. It could just get better and better if you just let the other stuff go.
yeah,
Because if I look at crypto, if I look at Bitcoin right now, I could be like, it was just at 134K. Like, oh my God, I lost like half my money.
yeah,
But it's at like 63,000, which for everybody who doesn't know what the fuck I'm talking about, it's like just different valuations for one Bitcoin. So like if you have $100 in and you put that in at like 60K and then it goes to 100K, 120K, your money will double. So basically a lot of people's portfolios have been like cut in half today and people are freaking the fuck out. But the thing about it is it's like got 50% cut. People are losing their minds. But 2 years ago, it was at, or a year ago, I don't know how long, but at a recent history, like however, 12, 24 months ago, it was also at this value. Or no, it was in 2018. So it was a while ago, but it was like at this value and people were freaking out like, this is the all time high. We're
yeah.
making so much money. Oh my God. It's just as you get better and as you improve and live through your life, your highest of highs will be higher than ever. And your
Yeah.
lowest of lows may feel low and may feel terrible, but they're probably higher than you have been previously. Because as your ceiling goes up, so does your floor. And as long as
Exactly.
you keep that perspective, you can't freak out too bad because you're better off than you were in the past.
Oh, dude, there's times where you know things will go bad, and I'll be like, man, what the fuck? And then I think back about when I was living in Washington, I was like, oh shit, I was prepping for competitions on ramen and eggs. Well, at least I can buy ground beef now, And
Yep.
yeah, the crypto thing just it reminds me. I know a couple of people who they'll look at their retirements like weekly, daily. I'm like, what are you
Yes. Yep.
doing? You don't need this for another 30 years. Just
Yep.
stop, and it's going to be there when you need it. You just let it
Yep.
keep growing.
Exactly. Exactly, dude. It's just people creating worry by not finding themselves in the present moment. And sometimes they're looking at the past,
Yeah.
other times they're looking at the future. But it's like both of those directions, it's not gonna fucking do anything for you right now,
No,
dude.
it doesn't change anything right now. And I think that's the to sort of echo what we were saying earlier. It's like having that responsibility of like now and then and everything. Like what's one thing you still have to check yourself on? Is there one thing like that you find like every day, or not maybe not every day, but like you're like shit, I'm doing it again.
It's it's the shit we're talking about, bro. I am. I come. I come from financial insecurity and like poverty. So I've worked so hard, so fucking hard, bro, to like be okay. And
Yeah.
I am okay. Like I am not wealthy by any
Yeah.
fucking means. But we're doing all right in comparison by for like everybody. Like shit's okay. Like I'm investing stuff monthly and saving stuff monthly. And I never thought I would be in this position. And I'm fucking grateful for it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I saw the bottom. I've seen the bottom. So I just think about that and I'm like, oh my God, what if it happens again?
Yeah.
Holy fuck, I have to be prepared. And I'm like freaking out, not all of the time, but because this honestly, this was a big thing that I like endeavored to improve in 2025 in therapy because I'm a big fan of therapy. I talk about it as frequently as not as frequently as I can, but just whenever I fucking feel it's contextually relevant because I've
Yeah.
been in therapy like at least once a month since like 2017. Like it's
Okay.
incredibly beneficial for me. It just keeps me grounded and I like having objectives to work towards because one
Mhm.
thing that I figured out is something that I had to deal with in like this phase of my life is this like financial anxiety because I'm
Yeah.
like, what if I end up fucking poor again and I can't provide for the people that I need to provide for? Like because there's a lot that's hit, there's pressure because I
Yeah.
take care of my family and it's like, this is what I'm supposed to do. But I talked about it with my therapist and she's like, you have to realize like literally all of this shit, like everything would have to go wrong all at once, simultaneously and for a long period for you to like not be all right. And then you would also have to stop working just for some reason completely. And it's like, I guess that doesn't make logical sense, but that's the thing. That's one thing that one of the reasons that I'm so like vocal or like I speak about it or I bring it up is because it is a thing that is like I know that I can improve upon. So it's like me
Yeah.
speaking directly from that experience.
Yeah. And totally get it because that's the same as me. I'm like, especially with a financial sense, I sit and
Hmm.
go, like, oh, fuck, what if this and what if that? And it's almost like I work myself up into a frenzy. And then I have
Hmm.
to pull myself back and I sit there and I'm like, well, wait a minute. This hasn't happened. This hasn't happened. This hasn't happened. Oh, things are actually okay.
Yeah.
And it's like, there's a big part of me that's like, well, why? I would love to know, like, what part of the human brain, like, why do we do the things we do? And why do we think the ways we do? Like, I love being able to sit and just watch a crowd and be like, see how people interact and all that sort of stuff. But I would love to know, like, what causes that sort of like domino effect in our brains,
Oh, dude.
and I'm sure it's like for the way what changes or what causes it in you is probably completely different to me, and
Right.
it's like why.
Yeah. No, and it's like why might our brains have that like same uh similar like cascade of like fight or flight and be like panic, but
Yep.
we might go in completely different directions because some person might have anxiety or fear about like their health, and
Yeah.
be like, oh, I don't want to get hurt, I can't get hurt again, like guy gets injured and then they try to come back and it's like I can't get hurt, oh my God. Some people might have the financial aspect, some people might have the interpersonal aspect where they like I don't want to, I'm going to be embarrass myself, I'm nervous to talk to people, or like I don't want to fuck up another relationship, so I'm not going to like talk to anybody, blah blah blah, whatever.
Yeah.
But I have to think, I don't know, but it could be something to do with, or I just because it's like sympathetic nervous system, which is like fight or flight, versus like parasympathetic, which is like actually like resting. I just don't think I think we've lost in like this day and age in 2026 and like people who are listening to this podcast because we're all on fucking TikTok, we're all on
Yeah.
Instagram, you're probably listening to this podcast while you're doing something else. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. I'm not saying that's a bad thing because I do the same thing, but nobody actually relaxes and
Yeah.
stops for a second,
Yep.
and we're always kind of oriented towards that like the one domino is already teetering towards like panic because we're just
Yeah.
doing so much all of the same at all of the same time. That's a thing. Like I am such a big fan of reading fiction, just
Yeah.
reading a
Same.
story
Yep.
because like that's one thing that I will ask you what you're fucking reading because like I love talking about books or whatever. But I that's one thing that I really started getting back into in 2025 just to drive up my ability to like be present in a moment and just
Yeah.
sit and like I'm not on my phone. I'm not looking at this. I'm not listening to a client message in the air while I'm fucking responding to somebody else over here or looking at something else, blah, blah, blah. It's like I'm just sitting in my recliner or in this fucking big ass chair with my Kindle, just reading about some crazy fucking space battle or a wizard or some shit, you know?
Yeah. And that's like my wife will be like, well, why don't you listen to this podcast when you drive? I'm like, because I won't take any of it in. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I listen to music when I drive. A lot of the time, I'll just drive in silence, and
Dude,
that's
I'm
it.
the
You
same way,
know,
dude.
it's almost like I can't take it in. Um, like I have a like my dog sits next to me in the truck, and
Mm-hmm.
it's just I'll drive in silence and just have my hand over on his head, and that's it. And I'm completely content, especially after like a long day. I'm like I have like an hour drive home. I'm like this is perfect. This is all I need.
Mm-hmm.
But I started like yeah last year I think it was, just getting back into reading at bedtime. You know I've got
Mm-hmm.
my stupid little red light that clips onto the book, and
Yep.
I read a proper book, and I start trying to put my phone away, and especially in summer like get my steps in early, and then the phone goes away, and that's me. And like I'm reading Lord of the Rings right now.
Awesome. Fuck yeah.
It's
Dude,
great. I just started book 3 last night.
dude, fuck yeah. Is this your first time reading them?
Yeah, I've only ever watched the movies.
Oh my God, bro. That's so cool. I read them when
It's
I was a
good.
fucking kid. That's amazing. I love it. I
Yeah.
love Tolkien, dude. Like
Oh, it's
I'm on,
fantastic.
yeah, I'm on, I'll talk about it too, cause I'm reading the Red Rising series right now, which I thought it was fucking stupid when I read like the first chapters and I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, I don't know. It's like a space drama of like super evolved metahumans who have like conquered the
Okay.
human race. And it's like different caste system. Weird, just whatever. I don't know. But I couldn't get into it. And then I put it down and then I came back to it. And now I'm just about done with the second book and I'm just fucking burning through it because it's
Yeah.
like literally like Bree fell asleep early last night and I stayed up late and I'm clicking. I'm like, oh my fucking God, what the fuck? It's just crazy. And then I also read if anybody I want more people to read this book. So think about Red Rising and then also think about the Dungeon Crawler Carl series because it's
I had a
super
friend talking about that the other day.
bro, it's so fucking weird. And I can't even describe it to you because it sounds like a schizophrenic fever dream. But it's one of the best series I've read. It's fucking hilarious, and it's a great story. It's like I'm literally like reading the last book and I'm like crying in bed about a fucking house cat that wears like hipster glasses shooting lasers and like just doing some crazy stuff. And I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing.
It's funny because it's like I feel like we need these moments to really start like progressing. Because I feel like going back to what you were saying with that domino about the tip, it's so different because like I feel like there's so many of us that want to do other things,
Mhm.
um, and then we sit there and we're like we stop ourselves because in our mind we're not ready, or we're worried about how someone's going to view us, or what it may be. And it's like, well, how do you sort of get past that and just start, you know? And I
Yeah.
think having those introspective moments where you're completely just at peace in yourself, like it just like down regulates everything, and it maybe makes that process a little bit easier.
Yeah. It's like that peaks and valleys conversation, like around training periodization. It's the
Yep.
same thing. Like you can only go so high as you go low. And if you're not capable of calming down and like really recharging your core being, you're never going to be in a position to give all of yourself to whatever it is that you're doing. You
Yeah.
know, it's a skill, but it's hard sometimes because I mean, even I'll again, it's like I'm not perfect with this. There's strings of nights where it's like I don't read because I'm too busy or I'm too distracted or I get too overstimulated during the day and I'm like I can't even imagine doing anything, and then I just fall into the TikTok hole and I'm like, God, where did my hour go? What the fuck just happened to me? You
Yeah.
know, and it's easy to get distracted, but developing that, it's like looking at like meditation and mindfulness. Like every time, one thing that like changed my entire perspective with mindfulness and meditation, because I always thought it was like people sitting there with like the hands and going like
Yeah.
and like just whatever, but it's just sitting and being present in the moment and like focusing on one thing in
Yeah.
like your breathing, you're calming down, whatever, like think about the softness of your seat, blah blah blah, whatever. But every time I always was like, I get distracted. I can't do this. I don't understand
Yeah.
how people do this. But then somebody explained it to me. Every time you get distracted and then bring your thought and concentration back to the mindfulness and the meditative experience, that's basically a repetition of focus. It's one rep
Yeah.
of refocusing. And every time you have that refocusing effect and refocus, even if you have to do it 1,000 times, you're basically training that muscle, and it'll better help you stay focused and remain focused or bring your attention back to where it needs to in whatever instance you find yourself in the future.
Yeah. And I think that's something that and I'm very guilty with it, where we just, there's so much emphasis on like the short term, like now that instant gratification, whether it's something, scrolling on Instagram, like you're getting some sort of response. And there's like I'm really enjoying, especially with the length of these books. Like, I'm sitting and I'm reading, and I don't hit many pages. Like, there's nights where I'll read 10 pages. There's nights I'll read two. I'm like, I'm ready for bed now because it calms me down so much. Is
Mhm.
really is fantastic. And I think there's something to be said where it's almost like having to actually sit and go through this process where you're reading each word and each page and all that, like you're getting that payoff, but it's not that instant gratification, and it's almost like it centers that, like, reward center again, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, and I mean, this the science is. Sorry, Bree was yelling at the dogs. I was like, I thought she said Joe, but I think she said no. But I'm this all the science is like beyond me, but it's that like dopaminergic aspect where your dopamine system is the reward system, the reward pathway, and like
Yeah.
how you get joy and like good feeling out of getting the thing that you want. But there's been research, or like I don't know if it's been research or just like knowledge or whatever combination of that, but I know that it's said dopamine isn't doing the thing or like getting the reward. It's that like overcoming of anticipation. So there's like, yeah, if you automatically, if you win every time, absolutely, you get a lot of dopamine. But that novel dopamine, it starts to run out like the same time you take pre-workout for the first time
Yeah.
and you're like, my face is on fire. I feel like God, this is awesome. What the fuck? And then you take pre-workout every training session for
Yeah.
a year and you're like, this doesn't fucking do anything to me
Yeah.
anymore. Like I don't even feel this. It's the same thing. Like you fall into these little like dopamine traps where it's like you're just scrolling, you're just looking, you're just like tap tap blah. But with a book, it's that like delayed gratification, it's that
Yeah.
extended release, and that's like the sauce, man. Because like if you can find fulfillment and joy and that good feeling in the delayed gratification of something as simple as reading a book, then maybe looking at a 6 month long training cycle where you're spending a lot of time low and
Yes.
only high at the end, maybe that will seem more realistic. And then maybe you expand that into like, oh, the small investments I make over here, like grow into this investment with the money aspect. And it's like long term oriented thinking, whether it's the training, it's the finances, it's the business, it's the personal development. It's like the little things. The little things matter. And they might feel like there's less fireworks going off when you do the little things, but you'll earn the bigger fireworks at the end, if that makes sense.
100%. And I think that's what a lot of, especially lifters, we need to take that sort of pulled back perspective and actually see the longer process, because everyone wants to go in and crush big squats and big deadlifts and all that sort of stuff, but you can't get there without doing this initial months and months of work to then sort of allow yourself that.
Mhm. Exactly. Exactly. And that's like, I mean, shit, the only reason that I can speak this way and like the reason I have this perspective is because this is the exact opposite of my experience when I was early on in my career. There's a reason I have a big ass gash on my forehead because I headbutted the barbell when I was pissed the fuck off. There's a reason I've ruptured and repaired both bicep tendons. I have multiple herniated discs. I got no meniscus in either knee. I got no popliteus attached over here. There's a lot of little like ornaments or reminders on my body of being like,
Mhm.
hey, the big man upstairs was like, hey, think about it. Hey, think about it. Hey, think about it. Hey, think about it. And then finally, you get to a point and you're like, huh, hmm, maybe I should stop and think a second before I do this one or pull myself back. It's hard to get there for some people and you need multiple iterations of it, but you do get there eventually if you stick with it long enough.
Yeah, yeah. And coming back to like the book analogy, I want to like put this to you. Obviously, our careers, our lives, everything's a story. What's one thing that you want, or that you hope someone will take from your story thus far, and to benefit them?
The the Man, I always I love that you're reading Lord of the Rings because I always I was in honors humanities in high school. Like I have always loved a good story. And the one of the biggest reasons that I have had success in powerlifting and I've like broken the records that I have and continued on as long as I have, I literally will I say this phrase still. I said it yesterday to Bree. I looked at her and I was like, babe, think of the story. Think of the story if we do it. What does that look like? Be the main character and like dramatize and romanticize your experience because you're the only person that can pour that much care, emotion, and passion into it. And if you don't do it, nobody else is going to. Like my story is one of resiliency and persistence and gratitude and suffering paired with joy. Like I've lost so many of my close friends. I was married and divorced. The best man in my first wedding took his life a week after the wedding. And I I've lost so many people,
Mhm.
but I've continued on and like I ascribe to that mentality of like somebody dies two deaths. Their first death is when their physical body leaves us. Their second death is the last time that you utter their name or
Mhm.
think about them. And the greatest people in my life, I'm gonna get fucking emotional, Jesus Christ. And the greatest people in my life, like I still carry on their legacy, like Tommy Smith, Ryan Moran, Ed Sullivan, like friends, family members, people that have like Andrew Locke, people that have gone before me that
Mhm.
have left a mark on me. And through my own story of persistence and resilience and joy and suffering and gratitude and whatever, I hope that I can leave that same mark on people. Cause it's like, it's not about my lifting. It's not about me coming back to like, cause I want to get back on the platform for this exact reason. I don't want to get back there to break all-time world records. Shit, if I do, that would be incredible. Think of the fucking story. But even if I find myself there and grateful for the opportunity to get there, that's going to show someone else out there that might be going through a similar thing, might be going through a similar transition period in their athletic career. Shit, maybe you can.
Mm-hmm.
It might show people that, hey, you can still do this. You can still love this. You can still be this without being only that thing. If I can do that for somebody, I've won, and I can die tomorrow and be fucking stoked. Like, obviously, I don't wanna, but if that happen, I hope that I can leave that legacy on as many people that I come into contact with.
And I think that's literally, I mean, that the way you summed everything up there is everything I'm trying to do with this platform. It's all about the resilience, the discipline, the gratitude, everything that goes into life that we maybe don't appreciate enough, you know? So, with that, to continue making your mark on people, where can people find you so that you can continue touching everybody and touching everybody, Jesus, touching their lives?
I appreciate it, man. It's Joe Sullivan _AOD on Instagram. I'm primarily on Instagram. YouTube channel is the same name, Joe Sullivan AOD, Joe Sullivan _AOD. Brianni is always on my page. You guys should follow her too. Like, we're everywhere.
Oh, she's a hoss.
Yeah, she's crazy, dude. But super proud of myself and her via the AOD Collective, which is the AODcollective.com. We just released our first line of supplements. We have 5 products out there. It took so much freaking time and energy and effort and money to make happen, but I'm really, really proud of the fact that, like, we're doing it ourselves rather than having basically like just getting like a sponsorship code or like some affiliate or whatever. It's like, it gives us a lot more creative control, and we can make products that we would take and that we would be proud of. So AODcollective.com, Joe Sullivan AOD. I'm an open book. I'm chronically online like everybody else who gives a shit about this stuff. So if you need to get a hold of me, there's an email form, or just DM me on Instagram. I'm in Las Vegas. Come through the Dragon's Lair if you ever stop in town. It's best spot here. We got some amazing gyms, but I just love the community and my people there. So appreciate anybody tuning in and anybody that says hey from this.
Dude, thank you so much for coming on. I love this. This is fantastic.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate it. I love talking, dude. I told you, my dad's mayor. We are good old Irish Catholic, Sullivan men. We are gifted orators, AKA we never shut the fuck up. So I love talking.
Dude, thank you again. I cannot say thank you enough. I loved every single part of this.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate it. But are you going to the Arnold?
I'm not. My wife is due Thursday.
Priorities. Yeah. Refer back to the priorities conversation. But I'm sure I'll see you again at some point, man.
Oh, absolutely will. Hey, thank you again.
All right. Thank you, Ken. See you, bro.
Yes, sir.